So this week's reset brings some changes, some updates. A few things are now unlocked that weren't previously unlocked. We're also going to look at some Mythic Plus numbers, interesting changes that happened to those today, and of course, a refresh of the DPS charts and everything else. We'll see where everybody currently stands. Let's jump straight into this. The Winner's Podium toy is now available, which to me is actually the reason that I wanted to do Dastardly Duos. I want to get this Winner's Podium toy so we can use it in our transmog contests. But yeah, it's a cool toy. This is the first time that it'll be available this week. All you got to do to get it is go to Vinny Sweats. You'll complete the little quest, I guess, that you got to do for him. And then this thing will be purchasable. The Winner's Podium will be purchasable from Wandin the Troll Servant for 100 Resonance Crystals. The Winner's Podium is really cool. People can interact with it once you put it down. Obviously something that you can use. Also, it does show your scores, right? So it's not just a podium where people stand. As of right now, the only place that you can actually see your score live in-game where you show it off to other people is the podium that currently exists where you queue up for these things. You'll be able to now show off your score anywhere, being able to basically lay it on the table and show everybody how big it truly is. The War Within June 10th fixes are in as well, and it looks like some people who were killing bosses after the reset weren't getting the proper reputation as intended for their Galagio track or whatever, the loyalty rewards thing, where we're doing our renown for the Galagio raid. It looks like for players who have killed bosses that should have rewarded them with reputation properly but didn't, defeating that boss on a separate character this week will yield the intended amount of reputation. So are they saying that this is not retroactively fixed? I think that's what I'm reading here. So basically, if you killed these bosses already, you're out of luck. You're shit out of luck. You either have to have an alt or you got to go do this on a different difficulty. But there you go. I guess you will not be getting the reputation rewarded for that. So womp womp. Yeah, it kind of sucks for them. But I guess it's fixed now, so you can get reputation now. This was an unexpected one for a lot of people. The Gift of the Titans is now available in your talent tree. If you haven't seen this, the Gift of the Titans is a very, OP ability. Basically, what this thing does is give you a massive buff. It'll give you, in fact, a 60% speed buff and haste buff to your character, along with a 100% reduction in sanity loss, basically making your sanity immortal for 20 seconds. This is a random proccing thing that happens while you're fighting. It was no longer on the tree. When we started playing live servers, this thing wasn't even there until this morning. It wasn't grayed out. It's not like it just wasn't available. It just wasn't there at all. So people thought for some reason that this event, this little talent here had been removed from the game. Turns out, no, Blizzard was just withholding it. And then they popped it into the game all of a sudden. Now, is this a new thing Blizzard's doing when it comes to time gating? Some people are saying that Blizzard didn't want people holding out to do horrific visions until this became available via time walking. So instead of having it grayed out, where people knew that it would eventually be available, they just took it out of the game completely and then dropped it once it was ready to go in. Whatever their intention was on how they did this, the time gating is now over for this. You can now go in and get yourself the Gift of the Titans, which will extremely overpower you for these horrific nightmares. Now with everything you've got, or the horrific visions when it comes to resistance and all that stuff, these things are pretty much a cakewalk for anybody who's actually been doing them. The new story available, Faith and Flame. So you can actually listen to this via audiobook format on YouTube for completely free. This is a new story about Farron Lothar, written by, who is this? L.L. McKinney. So this is a new story about her, how she braved the darkness. Now Farron feels the call again, compelling her to leave Hallowfall with Anduin and the Outlanders. So this story kind of takes you into the 11.1.7 stuff with the Rise of the Red Dawn story campaign that we'll be going for. It's kind of like a prelude to that. I did look into it briefly. I think it's like a little bit over an hour. So if you want to listen to this while you're driving, learn a little bit more about Farron Lothar and everything else that comes with her and the Hallowfall people, you can go ahead and do that now. Here we go. Completion rates. Dinging into the statistics, boys. Yeah, more stuff. Yeah, I brave the darkness every day at KFC. Don't we all? Don't we all? But at least you know there's a crunchy box of chicken waiting for you at the end. Here's the thing. Mythic Plus numbers, we've been looking at them previous weeks, and they haven't really been changing up and down a little bit. This week, for some reason, everything is down when it comes to completion rates, and there may be an actual reason for this. So many people may have not noticed, or maybe you did notice. Look at this. Prior to the Sacred Flame, completion rate down 4.2%. That's actually pretty big. The reason why this probably happened is these numbers are from last week when people finally got their second chance at getting a cartel chip item, right? This was their third cartel chip. So what typically that would do is it leads a lot more people to do more Mythic Plus. If you don't know how to get those cartel chips, you either do a couple Mythic Plus dungeons or you kill a couple raid bosses to complete the quest. So people probably jump back into these. At least that's the theory here. A bunch of people jumped into Mythic Pluses, and they also pushed higher keys. So typically towards the end of a season, you'll see completion rates start to dip a little bit, even though people are becoming more powerful. It's because people are pushing higher keys. So you're going to see more fail rates at those higher key levels. A lot of people are going for that 3K IO again to try to get the mount as well. So you're doing plus 12s and 13s and stuff like that. Seeing a little bit of a dip. Overall, everything dipped. Rookery still considered to be the easiest dungeon to run. The difference between week 14 and week 13 actually is that Dark Flame Cleft and Cinderbrew Meadery flipped spots. So second easiest now is Dark Flame Cleft. We actually ran that one yesterday, plus 10. It was pretty easy. The timer on that one's pretty forgiving. Cinderbrew Meadery is now in third instead of second. And then the rest of these are pretty much the same, except Priory of the Sacred Flame also dropped a spot. We saw here down 4.2% on the completion rate. I'm not sure why that would be. Maybe some people are going for the best in slot trinket. There is a best in slot trinket for a lot of people that comes out of theirs, specifically blood DKs as well. So could be that. Could be just the runs that people are having with, wanting to get with a cartel chip, as I said. We don't know, but we do know is the DPS numbers are in for raid. That's right. We're going to look at these real quick as well. See what's been changing when it comes to this stuff. Real quick, Devastation Evoker, still sitting at the very top. Again, this right here is your Mythic. Okay, Mythic overall. So you might see a little bit of difference between Mythic and Heroic. We'll look at both here, and then we'll look at the chart at the very end. Devastation Evoker still sitting at the top. Marksmanship Hunter. We got your Warlocks finger popping each other up here. Destro Warlock, Affliction Warlock, having a good time, both in the top 5. Shadow Priest, up a lot. They've been up a lot quite a bit lately, so they're doing very good. Survival Hunter, Retribution Paladin. They're everywhere. Most played. You turn around, you're going to trip over a Red Pally right now at this point. Frost Death Knights, Windwalker Monks. You guys are rounding out the top 10s. At the very bottom, Feral Druids, Demonology Warlock, Balanced Druid, Enhancement Shaman, Frost Mage, and then Evoker. Not too bad sitting up here. Just a little bit off of the bottom feeders. So there you go. If we look at tanking, right? Looking at tanking real quick. Not much change here, except for the fact that Vengeance Demon Hunter has dropped another spot. They've been dropping a week, every 2 weeks lately. So the only difference here is that Vengeance Demon Hunter and Guardian Druid have switched spots. Prot Warrior still putting out the biggest DPS numbers, followed by Blood DK and now Guardian Druid, again, who have switched spots with Vengeance Demon Hunter. Prot Paladin, not doing a lot of damage, but still very viable when it comes to tanking. And Brewmaster Monk. I feel like Brewmaster Monk is just tough, man. It's a tough one. Their health pops off everywhere. They're a tough one to play. I give anyone who plays Brewmaster credit. That's a tough one to play. And then right here, no real changes with healers. Holy Priest still sitting at the top. They've been at the top for quite a bit. Mistweaver Monk doing really good. Discipline Priest, your meta for when it comes to Mythic Plus, still doing great. Preservation Evoker, Restoration Shaman, Resto Druid, and then Holy Paladin rounding out the bottom boys there. If we look at heroic DPS numbers, kind of the same. A bit different than Augmentation Evokers at the very bottom here. At heroic levels, it's still a tougher one to play for a lot of people. I guess you can interpret that as the gear is not as good, maybe the skill is not as good. This is your top parses for heroic runs. So Augmentation sitting there at the bottom, but Devastation sitting at the very top. So you're sandwiched there by the Scaly boys. Following that up again with Marksmanship Hunter, we got Affliction Warlock, then Arms Warrior actually moving up here when it comes to heroic versus mythic. Ass Rogue, Windwalker Monk, Retribution Paladin, and then Elemental Shaman here. At the bottom, Outlaw Rogue, Augmentation, as I mentioned already, Frost DK, Frost Mage, Beast Mastery Hunter, Enhancement Shaman. So just looking real quick at the tier list overall, where people have moved since the last week we looked at these. Arcane Mage and Fire Mage are up in the S tier, along with Marksmanship Hunter, Arms Warrior, and Unholy DK. Right now, A tier. This is, it hasn't changed that much either. Frost DK, Demonology, Warlock, Survival Hunter. We mentioned the Warlocks doing really good right now in terms of where they currently stand. Also, A tier here. We got A plus and A. Down a bit, Affliction Warlock and Havoc Demon Hunter. But overall, A plus and A, they're kind of both the same, hand in hand. We saw both of these Warlock specs doing really good, so you could take that with a grain of salt. B tier, Shadow Priest down a bit, but Shadow Priest overall, we saw him in Mythic, right, doing really, really good. So it looks like Shadow Priest, the more, what that tells me is the more geared you become, the more best-in-slot items you grab, the better, exponentially better you will be. Shadow Priest seems to be pretty gear-dependent right now. So there you go with Shadow Priest, and then sitting in the C tier, as has remained for quite a while now, Augmentation Evoker down here at the bottom. Sam doesn't know mechanics. It's fake lore. That's fake lore right there. Pretty forgiving. He had like 50s to spare. Yeah, so look, overall, not too bad. Sam, are you finally going to craft and potentially be useful for once? No, crafting in this game is considered cheating. Okay, I don't craft. I don't do these things. I raw dog raids just like I raw dog life. There's a reason why I had 4 kids in 7 years. I don't use protection. Okay, that's all in terms of news. That's all in terms of these charts. We'll look at these again in the following days.